Alright, hello and welcome. So, the Nidus Deluxe came out, which means I'm gonna do a builds video on Nidus and show off this skin. I think this is the best Deluxe skin that they've put into the game so far. I think it's absolutely incredible, and it comes with a lot of stuff, so let's very quickly go over it. First and foremost, the skin itself and the Sindana, which we are going to show some colors for. But in addition to that, you also get a claw skin, which looks like this. And we'll show some colors for this very fast. This is the default color scheme. It does have the eyeball aesthetic that the rest of the skin does. We'll random through this a little bit, so you can get a feel for how this looks. And then obviously, I'm going to have this holstered on Nidus, but visible, so you guys can see how it looks when it's holstered if you're just going to use it as a cosmetic, which seems like a thing you would probably do as Nidus, because he doesn't really care about using melee weapons that much. Warframe colors. And then in addition to that, we also have the two dog things, which is first and foremost the actual skin itself, which can go on not only infested chargers, but also regular Kubros. So if you're worried about that, don't worry about it. And then, of course, the armor piece as well. This is what it looks like without the armor on the dog, and then, of course, with the armor on the dog. I guess it's just a determination of how extra you would like your dog to be, as the armor is huge and awesome. So whether or not you like it, I mean, either way, I think the skin looks fantastic in both forms, really. So it just depends on what you're really going for, I guess. Anyway, let's talk about Nidus's colors a little bit. I think that he colors incredibly well, personally. These are the default colors, and of course we have the difference between his regular look and whenever he's at full mutation stacks. So we're going to do some random colors in both so you can get a feel for it. I think he colors incredibly well, but for me personally, going with the incredibly metal look of like the blood and sinew and bone type of look that I've got going on, I personally think there's no other real way to go, but I've seen some other color schemes that also look quite cool. So do what you feel. And then to show some of the mutation stacks. Also, this is with the Twitch. Ooh, this is with the Twitch color palette. That actually looks pretty sick. That's pretty good. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff here. There's a lot of good ways that this could go. And there's a lot of these that, like, you could get to, like, this, and then with maybe minor changes, you get to something you're, like, a really huge fan of. And I think there's a lot of randoms that you'll go through where that would be the case, where you're, like, almost there whenever you random through, and then you do the last 10% of the way towards the look you want yourself. Anyway, that is what the skin looks like. The Sindana color is the exact same way, but let's show it real quickly. Sindana looks incredible. It's outstanding, amazing. And then, yeah, there we go. There is one thing about the Sindana, though, really quickly. If you are parkouring, it will open up. So it will look like this instead. And if you ADS, it will close back up. And then it just stays in whatever form based on your most recent action. I do kind of wish there was a way to keep it closed at all times, just because I think it looks better when it's closed. But that's not really a major complaint in any way. Also, in addition to just the frame looking different, also Nidus's 1 and Nidus's 2 look different. And as much as I wish his 4 looked different, it's actually already above and beyond that his 1 and his 2 look any different. So that's incredible. Anyway, let's get to the actual build now, and before we show it, I'd just like to state, so that everyone's very aware, this build is an insane amount of overkill. You do not need to forma him for this build or put this much investment in Nidus, but I did it for giggles and because it is actually very good. So let's look at it. This is the build. I went with an Umbral build because he benefits from all 3 of the Umbral mods, and whenever he's benefiting from all of them, his stats get kinda stupid. He has over 1,000 armor, he has 1,600 health, he heals constantly because that's just the thing Nidus does, and he has 260% strength, making him deal quite an amount of damage, and of course be incredibly survivable, and heal it's basically impossible to kill you with this build. Like, that's kind of what's up here. If enemies are capable of shooting you, if they're not already dead for some reason, you have unlimited energy. It just push it forward, basically, is what this build is here. You just can't die. In combination with that, to make it even more ridiculous, I have Grace and Energize to give me better energy economy and make it even more hilariously impossible for me to die. You definitely do not require either of these, but I threw him in just because, you know, the overkill is hilarious. Anyway, let's show how Nidus actually works really quickly. And for that, we have some dummies out in the field because we kind of need them to actually show Nidus's abilities. So important thing, down in the bottom right, you can see that 0 with a little circle with 5 ticks on it. Hello, dog. If I use my 1 on an enemy, I build a stack for each enemy I hit. So I hit 3 enemies, I get 3. Hit 1 again, it builds up, and I get a 1 in the middle. So every time that goes around the circle, you get another stack up to a cap of 100. So you can spend that for your 3 and your 4. Your 3 requires 1 stack, and your 4 requires 3 stacks. Your 2 will zoop all the enemies up into a nice, neat little pile. As long as they're not under the effects of an Ancient Healer aura, this is what your 2 will do. You cannot recast this ability until this one is over, or the enemies in it all die. So that is very worth noting. Also, worth noting is that your 1 will refund you energy per enemy it hits, and if you hit 4 enemies, it will refund you completely, and if you hit more than 4 enemies, it will actually gain energy whenever you use it. Also, things of note, whenever you use your 3 on an enemy, you get a special thing called dual casting. So if you hold down 1, you can see where your 1 is going to go before you release it. And as you can see, there's also a square, or a rectangle, coming out of this enemy. So if I release this, 1 comes out of him, 1 comes out of me, at no cost to me. This is just double effectiveness. Just straight up, it is a second cast. They both give you energy, they both build stacks, they both do full damage. There is no downside to this, in addition to your 3, whenever you're connected, giving you 90% damage reduction and also crowd control immunity. So this is incredibly effective at building stacks, doing damage, being invulnerable, etc., etc. And then finally, we have our 4, which puts down this AoE, which is going to heal me at 52 HP per second, and also is going to spawn all these little maggots that you see running around. Important note, you can hold 1 and also see where they all are, and if they explode and hit an enemy after using your 1 on them, you get a stack per enemy they hit when they explode. So you can see I'm building stacks incredibly quickly by using my 1 on enemies that have maggots near them. So you can build up really, really fast using this as your ramp. This is the thing that actually makes it really worthwhile to use your 4, of course, in addition to the heal. And once you have all this stuff going, Nidus is pretty much functionally completely unstoppable. So let's reset this test and then do it with the enemy AI on. Also, before we do that, I'm going to go in here to reset. It didn't reset my stacks. That's kind of fine. Whatever. Weapons that are being used here. 1 second. All the maggots are still building me stacks, so I'm going to get rid of them really quickly. Weapons that are being used here and why I'm using them. A sniper rifle of any description. Nidus Prime is like the best, I think. Is really good because Nidus is bad at doing focused weak point damage, so the Nidus Prime can take care of that for you. There are, of course, a number of snipers that can do this, like the Rubico or the Lanka or what have you. And then the big problem solver is the Mara Detron. So the 2 big problems that Nidus has, the 2 things he hates most, are Ancient Healers, because they make it so enemies can't be grabbed by his 2, and also they give all enemies 90% damage reduction in their aura. So he hates them. Radiation procs will turn that shit off. Also, he hates armor. Corrosive will get rid of armor. The Mara Detron, turns out, does both of those things, and you can build it with punch through to make it incredibly good for shooting through his 2, and just doing everything Nidus needs. So if you are going to play as Nidus, I would very much suggest that you get a Mara Detron, as it is absolutely incredible for him. There are a number of other weapons that are also fine, like the Pox, but the Pox has the problem of only being corrosive or only being radiation, which is an issue. You definitely want one that can do both, so this or the Staticore, and the Staticore is just slightly less efficient at it while having some other advantages, I think. Anyway, let's actually get properly to the tests. My stacks reset, thankfully, and we're gonna have to reset this because I took the Ancient Healers out of this equation before setting it all up. Alright, the test is all set up. There was some weirdness with how that menu was organized for some reason, and now it has fixed itself, so don't know what's up with that. Anyway, let's get this test started at level 155. As long as you use the Mara Detron to turn off the Ancient Healer auras, which Nidus hates, you can zoop all these enemies up and start building stacks. Then throw your 3 on an enemy for 90% DR, and get to building your stacks up. And then as soon as you're able to, you throw your 4 out. Get your 2 to zoop everybody back up, and build stacks like it's your job. Like it's your single calling in life. And also kill all the enemies in here. It's nice whenever there's an armored enemy in here, or you can use your 3 on a corrupted ancient to make it harder to kill them, so you can get even more stacks going. That's pretty useful. And then, of course, like, you can just finish off the ancient healer naturally. These enemies are actually not really actually strong enough to survive this, so I'm not going to get to full stacks or anything like that. But I also don't really need to be at full stacks, so you know how it goes. This enemy has armor. I don't like that. These 2 enemies over here also have armor. What if they didn't? Incredibly useful, naturally. I wish they would shoot me, though, so I could get energy back. That's a bit unfortunate. Excuse me. Excuse you. Hello. Okay. Outstanding. Wonderful. We'll just Maradetra on them. Oh, now we're back at full energy. And you can see, even at like 50 stacks, this still does really significant damage, doing like 20,000 plus per hit. That's outstanding. But yeah, like, these enemies, they're level 155. They don't fucking pose a threat to Nidus. To Nidus? The only thing you really have to be worried about is Nidus, as long as you know what your abilities do, is like having to go to the bathroom and letting enemies shoot you for like an hour. Like, that's all you're really worried about. Nidus is fucking unstoppable. He builds up, he uses enemies as ammunition, basically. Once he has over 15 stacks, he's just completely functionally invulnerable. Any enemy that would ever pose a threat to him is actually just good for building up stacks, so that's Nidus. He doesn't give a fuck. He builds up, he overwhelms. He's the infested Warframe, and he just does the whole thing. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you tomorrow.